will manage your business with these business ratios. Most importantly, what you have to take care of, and when I talk about key performance indicators, help you in developing business goals and some indicators for your team as well as for yourself, that this is what is I plan to achieve, and these financial statements and ratios will help me in achieving those goals. Now, KPIs ideally should be very specific and measurable. They have to be very clearly laid out. What are we expecting from the team, and how they will be calculated. That makes it easier for understanding and attainable as well. So we should have a perspective of the market scenario and do not make KPIs so stiff that the team might lose the probably attention or focus on indicators and just on the KPI for achieving those KPIs. Well, and KPIs have to be relooked and made relevant probably every 3 to 6 months, because the market scenarios change very fast for any business owner. That's why we have to have a perspective and use our profit and loss account and balance sheet as well as cash flows to develop these KPIs and evolve them every 3 to 6 months. I will just tell you what exactly and what are the examples of KPI could be. Ideally, KPIs can be for your financial strength of the business, which is closer to what we have discussed as business ratios, so they are financial KPIs. Then there are sales and marketing KPIs. These are for like as a percentage of your turnover, how much sales that you're making, what is your sales probably last year or last quarter as against this year, and what you want to achieve. Let's say if you're looking for a 25% or a 50% or a 100% goal, that should transpire into your KPIs. They can be drilled down into different product lines, and you can have KPIs for each product that you are selling. For various online retailers, refunds becomes the very key cost center. So this should be a implicit KPI that should be built in whenever you are doing this exercise. Thereafter, like your percentage spent on social media, Google PPC, and the promotions that you're doing on Amazon's. These financial KPIs, I will just take you through a snapshot that I've got, wherein how we analyze them and how we bring them to various businesses. So we've talked about KPIs into the financial KPIs, sales and marketing, and there are certain KPIs for your operations department as well. So whenever you've bought in the sales, but your operations department has to deliver it. So like deliveries in whatever format has to be part of the KPI for the operations department, whether the clearances of the sales are proper or not, whether the customer service, which comes with email responsiveness, etc., is right or not, etc. And for your HR, you can have for HR and administration, like how much churn is there in your team. This could be help you in gauging probably in like last 6 months, how much there churn in my team, how effectively or motivated your team is. These sort of KPIs can help you foster strength and identify what can be your areas that you have to give immediate attention. And I'm coming into that with the snapshot in your business, whether it is like sales or marketing or onto financial side of things. Like here you go. So I've given you a little bit of brief. This we used to do back with spreadsheets, etc. And it is easy to do it on a spreadsheet or an MS Excel. And these days, I would recommend that you should start using Google Sheets to do any sort of analysis or projection works, because it becomes more collaborative and it stays with you wherever you are. Now, with this business, I'm just like we did an analysis. This business had around 16 stores, and this business used to do a product sale of sofa. And I have taken an example of various KPIs that I had. Like, for example, how much sofa orders, how much beds order, etc. And with them, how much warranty the sales department sold. So these are more likely a KPI from the sales side of things. And this is how the present status of the KPIs look like. So when you built in your KPI, let's say you started on 1st of April, this is what your target was. And probably 6 months down the line, this is what your result is. And then you start measuring it. And just give them the importance, whether the revenue is important at this point of time, or if not revenue, how much clients you've engaged is important, etc. This is a small snapshot of what KPIs look like and what work or how they work during when we measure business on 6 months, 3 months standpoint. Like, for example, for you, the gross margins and operating profit margin and the current ratio for a business owner is a key and gives you a understanding of your financial KPI. Let me just go back. I hope KPIs are sort of, I have given a glimpse of KPI. Talking about these KPIs help us to build business dashboards. And what business dashboard is, probably let me take you to a business dashboard, what it is and what it gives you. And this is very important for an investor, because investor probably by spending an hour or so can gauge how a business is doing, where it stands, and based on which he can take a decision on what are the areas he wants to probably for a business owner to focus and where he can come in and help you. And as a business owner also, you should have a business dashboard, probably as simple as what I'm trying to show you is like this. Like, what is my revenue every month? Then what is my percentage of payroll expense, advertising expense, etc. every month as against the total sales, and which has increased, which is something has shown a sky spike over a period of time, etc., which can be picked up and probably given attention. And then the gross margin percentage. Now, this trend line gives you a clear picture wherein your business, which months your business performed well, and your gross margin ideally will give you where you faced cash shortages in your business, where you were pretty much comfortable in your business, and can help you in the next year to forecast your cash flows, which we will come post these business dashboard discussion. So the business dashboards are this, probably this, I'll take it further. Like if you've got different set of inventories of different levels, this is very important in any product business. Let's say how old your inventory is. Probably your inventory is lying for 3 months, 6 months, or maybe more. So you should have that sort of an analysis. This is what a business dashboard is all about. And it comprises basically, and you should have, I would recommend to have a business dashboard every month based on your profit and loss account and balance sheet. KPIs can be static for a quarter, but business dashboard should be prepared on a monthly basis to give you your sales growth, your how much like product wise inventory volumes or sales volumes, your like how is your inventory performing, or your how fast your inventory is moving. Like similarly, like how fast are you paying your debtor, paying your creditors or your accounts payables, and how fast are you receiving your money from your sales. This can give these trend lines or bar charts. I always prefer trend lines that gives you an analysis which way you are heading. Are you growing, or there is a dip, and you can pick up that dip and you can address it. Then similarly, you can build in, when it gets more complex, then you can build them into certain other areas wherein you can add into KPIs into dashboards, which will be little complex, but then they can be helpful rather in giving you a kind of an standpoint from your goals, what you want to achieve, and where you stand at a specific point of time when you are preparing a business dashboard. Probably this is onto business dashboard is, I would like to share something before further. I would like to have some sort of a collaboration or a Q&A, some questions, Bawal, probably some questions that anyone has or probably want to ask, because I have also few questions so that I can then take up this cash flow thing further.
Sure, sir. Any questions, anyone? Hello? Yeah, Susan.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you, Shitish, for an engrossing session. I would like to know that most of the banks, when we approach for a stand-up loan, am I audible?
Absolutely, go on.
Yeah. So I'm sure you're aware of this stand-up loan, which is granted only to women entrepreneurs, and the limit is of 1 CR without collateral, and the moratorium period is for the principal starting of 1 to 2 years, and there are quite a lot angel tax benefits also attached. Are you aware of the scheme?
I have gone through the scheme, but honestly, I haven't seen any successful, in
Absolutely.
my knowledge, that
Yeah,
has
that's true.
taken this loan. That's the
And
irony.
yes, and the fact that each and every bank and their branches, they are all they all have this mandate to lend out at least two women entrepreneurs per month,
Okay,
right? Yes. So if you
that's
have
interesting.
SBI branches there in Jaipur, something like 50 branches, every branch has to do. Every branch, both PSU and private banks, all. But unfortunately, we've not been able to take hold of this great opportunity, and the scheme is still running. So my submission to you is the banks I approached to, they are asking for CMA report from a CA.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I'll, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I
do
can
you think
understand your position.
again a lot of window dressing has to be done because I am just 3.5 years old in the startup. We
Yeah.
are again on a growth trajectory, and correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the financial ratios or sales and marketing ratios are really not applicable because
That's exactly.
given the size of manpower we have, and we are constantly pivoting our business, seeing the unprecedented times we are, sometimes we are in expos and sometimes 50% expos and 50% e-commerce, so on and so forth. So given this kind of a scenario, what kind of a CMA report you being a chartered accountant could actually suggest us, and and how do we proceed ahead?
Okay.
And one thing more I would like to enlighten you, that the branch manager of that bank, he said, I mean, he openly told me, you keep an inventory of 10 lakhs and we'll show in the account books that the 10 lakh inventory is absolutely four times more because I'm into textile handicraft business, but of course
Hmm.
it is more on sustainable eco-friendly side. सो आपका तो 4 गुना में ज्यादा में सेल होता है, तो हम 10 लाख का 50 लाख दिखा देंगे, 50 लाख आप कोलैटरल एफडी करवा दो एंड विल गिव यू 1 CR. सो आई सेड देन व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ विदाउट कोलैटरल? तो उन्होंने बोला आप इन्वेंट्री रखवा दो और सीए की रिपोर्ट सीएमए के लिए आओ एंड विल गिव यू 1 CR. Can you enlighten me on this? And I think if you being a CA can take up this role of giving CMA report to women entrepreneurs, I think everybody in this entire ecosystem would be benefited.
No, I shall be happy to do it. But this side of things is very key. I'll take this question on a. This is a system issue. A, the bank that you are going for funding, they have been trained to fund matured businesses, not the startup businesses. That's the whole challenge. The person sitting there in his whole lifetime has funded a matured business. Now, number one. Number two is they haven't funded any business without a collateral. So for them, it's very risky because the ownership in their system comes to the person who funds it. Is now the third thing is they don't understand the beauty about these new startups, or probably the kind of the mechanics of how your new businesses flow in. Ideally, they should have never asked for a CMA. I would have suggested, and that's why I stopped in here, is I wanted to discuss cash flows, because cash flow is what you have to show them that this is my business and I am running short of business, this cash flow, and that is why I need the money. और ये पैसा इतने दिनों में मैं चुका दूंगी. This is the function of the cash flow and the cash flow projection that we would be, that is ideally they should be asking for, and based on which the funding should have been done. A, since they are asking for an asking take me, it is practically not possible without that window dressing to get some fund out of the, at least with the PSU banks. It's really difficult.
But then the
Having
scheme
said
is
that, there
only
are
for women
certain
entrepreneurs.
outliers. Sorry, come again.
But Kshitij, this scheme is for women entrepreneurs without collateral
Yeah. See, you need to take,
and for startups. Yeah.
yeah, you need to, sometimes we need to make it little tough. We need to might take some help of banking ombudsman to get this word going as far as PSUs are concerned. Having said that, if you have tried for SIDB, this would have been pretty, because they have been pretty proactive in addressing startups, and they can help you guys pretty easily.
No. I have already approached SIDBI. So their gamut is pretty higher, which is 2 CR. Not even
Correct.
1 CR, 2 CR. And they primarily fund if you have a land with plant and machinery being existing.
No, SIDBI has a separate segment as well. We will talk about it probably offline on this. But I'm just giving you a perspective that you, and banks have desisted in without collateral loans. It's not your case, but there is another scheme called CGT SME for businesses, for for entrepreneurs, which has not been promoted by bankers at all, because the risk if you default is 100% for them. This is a challenge, and I accept it. And probably I can share some of the positives, like what could be the offline, because this session was not for that, funding is. So probably we will discuss that offline.
Sure. I would be happy to connect.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi Kshitij, this is Neha from Avitron Automations. Actually, I have a question. We are currently in the stage of calculating our valuation as we're in talks with investors. So, would you say these ratio that you have talked about, such as inventory and account receivable, as an example, can directly be taken into the calculation for our evaluation, or or these are not like
Mukta,
directly?
your value, I don't know what sort of business you are into. Is it a product?
We have an edtech startup.
EdTech startup. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For you, I would say in an EdTech there is no inventory ideally. So you would be more likely will be.
Actually, we have, because we do our own in-house manufacturing. In terms of aero modeling, and we have few models related to space and other stuff. So everything is built in-house, and then it's provided to the different schools and colleges and etc.
I still feel that you would either be falling into, and I would have discussed it late, probably, that you have to build your cash flows, and discounted cash flow
Okay.
could be the way that you have to do your valuations, considering certain escalations of error rate and risk rate,
Okay.
and just developing, probably like developing a burn rate, as I've mentioned in the cash flow projections, as we say,
Yeah.
how much cash you're burning every
Yeah.
month is what probably will uh, determine your valuation, quite honestly, because in India, it's DCF is the most popular way of funding. Having said that, like for somebody who is into marketplace, which has happened in the case of Flipkart's of the world is they are being valued on gross merchandise values, etc. Because that's a different ball game altogether. Then when we talk about for a service business, they have got a multiple, ideally based on their EBITDA or probably their revenues. That's how these are the typical valuation scenarios that are prevalent at this point of time. So these inventory values will come into, or ratios will come into play when investor has invested in your business and he wants to know your business every
Oh,
month.
right. Okay, okay. All right, Siddesh, thank you.
Thank you. Shall probably I proceed further with cash flows? That will take.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then we'll take questions.
Before taking it to the cash flows, let me give you a glimpse what cash flow is all about. And this is the most difficult thing to draw. And you should always take a help of someone financially experienced on this part of developing a cash flow, which is built based on your profit and loss account and comparing the profit and loss account and balance sheet of two periods. Cash flow is always of a period. So when we prepare a cash flow, it is for a period. Period means it is for, let's say, for 3 months. Then we compare and prepare this cash flow by comparing the P&L and balance sheet of April 30th of March and probably the next quarter, that is 30th of June, based on which the cash flow is developed. Cash flow actually gives in a picture of your business from where the money came in the business, whether it came in from the sales, where the money went in, you paid for the supplies to the suppliers, to the employees, you paid taxes, you got a GST refund or taxes, and this is the operational side of thing. Received money, paid. Whether you made a profit or not, it is not a concern here when you are developing a cash flow. Once this is done, for a startup, ideally, net cash from an operating activity is a negative, ideally. But then this net cash gets funded from whether you have invested your own money into the business or you have taken some loans so that your operating activities can run. Thereafter comes whether you have invested, that if there is money left out from this number, it comes out to be whether you have invested money in buying some asset or probably given some advances in terms of procuring some rides or some booking a space or stuff like that. This whole pluses and minuses add up to the same number, ideally, to what your bank balance is. And on 30th of June, if you're preparing 2 quarters from March to, this is how a cash flow is prepared. If I start getting into a little bit nitty-gritty into it, it will take a little bit more time to explain it. I have tried to make it simpler, but I can take questions on cash flow. And cash flow, believe me, is key for you guys, either to take a debt funding or to go for for an investor, because this is the only way a banker can look how fast he can be repaid, whether he's able to service, you are able to service their interest or not. And I would like to add in here, when you are going for a debt funding, there is another ratio. I've not covered it out. It's called debt service coverage ratio, whether you are able to service your debt is calculated again based on these cash flows. The similar ratio is calculated, and that can be helpful. And if you present it to a banker, that can show up and make a case for you to get a funding, even from the bank. This is what is all about how you develop a cash flow. If I go back on projections of cash flow, projections are, I believe everyone doing a business, whenever you've started a business, you should be doing sales projections based on what exactly have been the market is, and what is the market scenario is. The sales projection develop on that basis, against which these days investors look into unit economics very much. Unit economics is nothing but is your cost sheet. Cost sheet is how much is your product costing or your service costing, how much money is going into like the way you've priced your X product, how much is the material cost and your sales cost, etc., is what comes into unit economics. I missed out on sharing an example as far as unit economics is concerned, and what are the probably line items that you can consider developing unit economics. But I will share it with Bhaval if somebody asks for, and that can be helpful for you. Another important thing that you analyze when you are doing your projections is to identify your variable costs and fixed costs when you are doing your projections. Whenever you are presenting to an investor, you should always ensure that an investor either funds you for your fixed costs, primarily more, because they're where this is what you are investing in your business. The variable cost ideally has to be lower than your sales values. Thereafter, probably you can, based on these, you can either get how much cash generations you are doing every month, every quarter, and how much cash you are burning. Now, I have rather explained this in the Q&A also. I'll take it up again. The valuations ideally is for any startup, ideally is these days, has happened in past on the discounted cash flow method in India. It's very popular here and quite a bit easy. However, whenever you are doing a projection, please ensure you do a 5-year projection. Always have a look at your industry, which industry you are into. Let's say if you are into ed tech or probably into marketplace, then always take a risk rate of adjusted risk rate whenever you are doing projections of a market leader in your business whose financials are probably available to you on a public domain, or you can actually go to the Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange website and take up the data from there and use that data for creating certain benchmarks. Like you've taken a 40% growth or a 50% growth on sales, and you've taken a say sales and marketing expenditure based on that 40-15%. That could be very high because for any case, then you have to use certain error rates for that, for doing that projections. This is how your projections have to be built for investors. Apart from that, for services businesses, like multiples are also calculated on earnings before interest, taxes, and even on the revenue. Probably it's a professional service or a consulting service, and it's going for an investment, then it can be multiple of your revenue. The gross merchandise value happens ideally at the standpoint of in the cases of Udaan, Must Have Been, or Flipkarts of the world. These are the few startup valuation methods. I think that's about it as far as my presentation is concerned, and I'm happy to take more questions. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, bravo.
Yeah, sir. We're open to questions.
Yeah. So,
Anyone for questions? You can even message on chat and I'll ask. Anybody?
Can you please tell me what is do we have to consider taking into account an industry benchmark for profit percentage? Or is it like sector agnostic, or is it same for all?
it has to be sector agnostic, and that's what I wanted to mention, like profit percentage. If you start using, like, let's say you are into I would say, let's take an example of textile sales. So you take probably if you go to a BSE website, Bombay Stock Exchange website, and pick up a small cap company over there, and then take a percentage of that, will be a better way of putting, or I would say more optimistic way of putting things in a projection than probably taking any projections. That would be my take on that. I would rather see industry benchmark. Let's say, if I am reviewing your projections, I would look at to your industry leader and pick up the profit percentage from there, and probably might not take your percentage. Because these days, normally what startups have started doing is, probably, let's say if you are looking for a X valuation, then you start doing a reverse method to get that X valuation based on the burn rate. That's why.
Thank you. One more thing, according to you, what is better, debt or equity in terms of financing? Though I understand that debt is for organic growth almost, and with equity, you also get to have inorganic growth in terms of joint ventures and mergers and acquisitions, but it has its own flip side attached to it. So, which is better according to you?
Well, it depends upon what stage of business you are into. Well, if you are at seed stage, I would recommend that you should have an equity, and that equity should not be only equity, it should bring in mentoring also. You that mentoring can help you grow your business. Then equity can grow multifold. If you are a matured business and you've probably in your terms, it's very difficult to define a matured business, what ideally would be a matured business, but uh, in a scenario with a matured business, debt is what you look at. But if you are starting up, equity would be a better way to go. But equity should not be equity. It should come up with a lot of value. You should have value with that equity in terms of management, in terms of insights about how you can grow your business with different networks, etc. That's how I see it.
Thank you. One last question from me. As of now, mine is a sole proprietorship, but I plan to convert into OPC Limited because that's the mandatory prerequisite for being,
Correct.
applying to
Correct.
DPIIT in the startup arena for Government of India, wherein we could avail more benefits in terms of angel tax and in terms of procuring more funds if you're if you're pivoting and if your startup is more innovative. So ideally, how much of time frame does it take to get converted? And is it a very cumbersome exercise, or shall we maintain this and open up another company with a other name? What do you suggest?
I would not recommend of opening up another company if you are going for funding. But
Mm-hmm.
the and you, if I remember, you told me like you are 3.5 years into business,
Yeah, correct.
so it's a decent legacy, and your numbers should be decent. It would be easy to convert it based on the capital that you've got in the business, and it should not take more than 2 to 3 weeks max, ideally,
Mm-hmm.
to get that sorted. I
And
would recommend you to get it
what
converted.
about the import-export license and MSME and many other places where we have certificates? Again, everything has to be done. So that's the reason, I've been kind of procrastinating, not changing. So what is your advice? Let it be the proprietor firm, or to avail benefit, we should, you know, will it really solve any purpose to be having
I
an
need to.
OPC limited?
I actually need to see your numbers
I see.
before I
Okay.
can suggest you on
Okay.
that, because I don't know
Okay.
how big your numbers are to
Okay.
actually guide you on that.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
the second solution, whomsoever have suggested you, is an easier solution.
Mm-hmm.
And for a startup, taking the easy route in a long term is the difficult, will always prove difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
sir, there's a question from Himi. What will be better, LLP or private corporation for a healthcare service industry based startup? We are in the ideation phase now.
LLP. LLP will be a better scenario.
Himi, do you want to ask something?
Hi, thank you for answering that. Sorry, I'm a little like sore on my voice. That's why I texted. Can you help me with the pros and cons of it? Because I've talked to a couple of CAs and some of them suggested to go with the private corporation because it's easy to include and delete members. And LLP, it might be difficult to do that. So can you explain a little bit more of a detail of why you prefer LLP?
Uh, what is your ultimate aim with this startup? Do you want to get funding in the business? You want, or you've got your investors. They are like seed investors, angel investor. What is the I know like it's an ideation stage, but what's your aim?
Yeah, so we do want to go to the funding route, but I'm not sure how we are gonna do that. So I'm not sure if we'll directly go for a VC funding or like go with angel investors, because we are refining our business model right now, and based on the viability and practicability of it. But definitely we will be needing to raise some funding to proceed forward.
Okay. Well, as far as LLP is concerned, though, again, this is something not for this session, but for as far as LLP is concerned, LLP is more flexible. It has
Okay.
got less regulations as compared to in last 3 years. They've made forming a company and maintaining that company so cumbersome and so inflexible, so that you would spend a lot of time or either pay a company secretary and a chartered accountant a
Yeah.
decent amount of money to maintain it
Yeah.
and still face inflexibility in terms of probably if you want some unsecured funds coming into the business so that your business can run, etc.
Yeah.
That all becomes a challenge to start with. With
Okay.
LLP, there are certain flexibility in that terms.
Okay.
Having said that, LLP, you might have to pay a little bit higher tax, but you're not bothered. You will be burning. So you're not bothered about it. At some
Okay.
point of time when you might think you want to grow up the ladder, then you can
Yeah.
always convert that
Okay.
to a company.
Okay. So that makes sense, and I think the first round of our funding would be through like grants, either government grants or grants from like research organizations who can basically like help us to start, and then probably we might go for seed funding. So LLP might be a good way. That's what you're
Yeah,
suggesting, right?
yeah, yeah. The only thing, there can be a catch, but that doesn't matters a lot at all
Yeah.
with government grants, etc. Is whether you when if you plan to change it or convert it, they
Yeah.
have some ifs in that.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so whenever you are going for that with government grants or all that stuff, just make that
Yeah.
clear.
Okay. Cool. I'll,
That would be one checkpoint. That's it. I presume that doesn't make any difference because,
okay.
but still it's better to have to check that.
Okay. That's great advice. Thanks for pointing that out. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody else for questions? So I think there's no one. So thank you for giving your valuable time, sir. It was great to have you, and thank you everyone for your valuable time. We will be announcing our next session soon. And I am very sure that the session was very informative, sir, and we've already started getting the feedback also.
All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone has joined and given time on this. Thank you. All the best on your
Thanks,
startup
Satish.
journeys. Thank you.
Thanks, Satish. Thanks.
Thank you
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.